break. Uh, was a pretty nice week to have off. Got a lot of outdoor stuff done. That was nice. Pretty soon it's gonna be too hot down here to do too many outdoor things. Go outside like, luckily for me, I have a pool, so it gets too hot. Might go for a swim. I'll probably be burnt. I burn very easily. Even if I put sunscreen on, I'm the type of person that has to go outside wearing a hat, a wide brim hat, if I don't want to burn. And that's hit or miss. Oh man. See, people are a little slow getting on this morning. It's tough getting back in the saddle, isn't it? Okay, so one, two, three, four, five, six. Yeah, that's about what we have. I think a lot of people are extending their spring break. All right. While we wait for some more people to come in, here is your Nearpod link. What we're going to do is we are going to recap Romeo and Juliet Act 1 because it's been a week since we've talked about it, at least. So, um, so we'll do a little refresher. Tomorrow we'll do progress learning, and then you'll have a quiz on Act 1 on Friday. So take this time to reconnect with this play. All right, let's get those cameras on. You don't already have it on. All righty. A bit of a frog in my throat. Allergies have been going crazy lately. Big like things of green pollen just floating in the air. It's interesting. All right, for those of you that just came in, I'll put the Nearpod link back up. So we're gonna revisit Romeo and Juliet, and then Act One, and then we are going to, excuse me, then we're going to do progress learning tomorrow, and then Friday there'll be a quiz on Act One. So let's go to on Neopod. I found a video from this guy. He actually took um he uh he has a very interesting approach to it. And he's got a British accent, so I feel like that makes it a little bit more authentic that he's talking about Shakespeare. So, all right. So, until I did this one because at this kind of basic slide starting out, that's how far I've gotten with my Nearpod design. But so this one, not to be confused, with Nearpod Romeo and Juliet Act One. This is Nearpod Romeo and Juliet Act One review. All right, so we've got a recap video that'll have some questions throughout it. I have a fill in the blank, which is the prologue to Act One, which kind of gives us the whole, it gives us all those spoilers of what happens in the play itself. Then we have a matching game where you have scenes 1 through 5 and an event, and you have to put which event happened in which scene. And then I've got some multiple choice questions. It looks like a quiz, but this is an activity, not a quiz. So this is kind of like a practice quiz. Oops. Okay, I think I went a little too much on the side arrowing. It just kind of like went away. All right, this guy's got a lot. I'm gonna look at what he has for future acts. This one's a new resource for me, but I liked what he did with Act One, and we'll see how he does if this guy comes back in future stuff. Nearpod's supposed to take these out.
Start from square one. Need to diagram the steps. What happened in Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet? Let's find out. Okay, so Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet begins with a prologue. Well, it takes some really well away. Sorry, prologue is like
Oh, thank you for letting me know that my my screen was frozen. All right, let's try this again. Oh man. Okay, we're good. I think I hit things and like all of a sudden it just doesn't go through. So thank you.
How's it going, Revision Squad? It's me, Liam, aka Mr. Knight, aka Dystopia Junkie, and this video marks the beginning of my Romeo and Juliet revision series. Now, what else would be a better way to start this series than me summarising the first act of the play? Summaries for acts 2 to 5 will follow in due course, but if I were to sum up the entirety of Shakespeare's play in just one video, well, it would be very, very long. Before I get stuck into the summary for Act 1, please do not forget to give this video a like, write me a comment, and share it with anyone who you think might find it useful. And if you are studying or revising Romeo and Juliet, why not subscribe to my channel too and turn on that notification bell, because that way you are not going to miss any of the other videos that I will be making about Romeo and Juliet. Alright, cringe-worthy beg out of the way, what actually happens in Act 1? Okay, so Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet begins with a prologue. Broadly speaking, this prologue gives an outline of Romeo and Juliet's plot. It makes some really key information clear right at the very beginning of the play, meaning that the audience are going to be well aware of what's about to happen. For instance, the prologue reveals that the play is about two families, who we later find out are called the Montagues and Capulets. They live in the city-state of Verona, which is in Italy. Now, vitally, these two families hate each other and have a long-standing feud. Importantly, fate determines that a Montague and a Capulet, namely Romeo and Juliet, become star-crossed lovers. By the end of the play, we are told, these lovers die. These
Okay, so what family is Romeo from? You only have two choices. Is he a Capulet or is he a Montague? Got 50-50 there. I'll let you know, one of these answers, there would be some very interesting family relations if Romeo was one of these. Oh, half and half. Which is he? The little smiley face guys are really helpful with showing who is who. They have different colors for the different groups of people. So they have the Capulets in one color, they have the Montagues in another color. Then anybody that's not one of those families, they have in yellow. All right, maybe you guys will realize who is who when I show you the movie again.
two deaths, it turns out, are the only thing that can end the bitter hatred that exists between the two families. Act 1, Scene 1 begins with servants from the Montague and Capulet families having a fight, following some incredibly rude thumb-biting antics. However, more family members and family representatives and family allies get involved too. The fight definitely escalates. In fact, you could say that it escalates quickly. Anyway, Prince Aeschylus, the chap who rules over the city-state of Verona, turns up and forbids the two families from fighting. He says that if they are caught fighting again, he will sentence everyone involved to death. Not good. A little while later, once things have settled down a bit, Romeo is introduced, and we find out that he is sad because he has been rejected by Rosaline. He is very weepy and forlorn. Act 1 Scene 2 sees Paris, a relative of the prince, chatting with Lord Capulet, the head of the Capulet household. During this chat, Paris asks Lord Capulet if he may marry Juliet, Lord Capulet's only daughter. However, Lord Capulet isn't so keen on the idea, saying that Juliet is too young to be married because she is not yet 14 years old. He asks Paris to wait until Juliet is 16. But the thing is, Lord Capulet is not going to end their conversation on a negative note, and so he invites Paris to a party that he is soon to throw. He gives Paris permission to woo Juliet, meaning that he says it's okay for Paris to try to win Juliet's affections, but also tells him that there will be many other beautiful women at the party as well. Before he and Paris leave the stage, Lord Capulet gives one of his servants a note that contains a list of names of people that he wants his servant to go and invite to the party. The servant runs off. Some point later he bumps into Romeo in the street, and this is how Romeo finds out about the party at the Capulet household. Having seen that Rosaline is on the list of invitees, Romeo decides to go to the party as well.
The future of your business is here. With Wix,
Doing
Scene 3 takes place in the Capulet household. Initially, Lady Capulet and the nurse, sort of like Juliet's personal assistant, talk about Juliet's age. During this chat, Nurse tells a crude story about when Juliet was a toddler. Anyway, after that, Lady Capulet asks Juliet what she thinks about marrying Paris. Lady Capulet seems pretty keen on this idea.
Okay, so Juliet's nurse has a role in the plot. What is it? Is she going to give background information? Is she going to give context of the times? Is she some comic relief? Or does she have expert knowledge about the law when it comes to marriage and inheritance? Hmm, looks like we're a bit torn. All right, moving on soon. All right, going on.
Idea praising many of his qualities. In response, Juliet says that she isn't particularly interested in the idea about marrying Paris, saying that it's something that she's never really thought of. But, in response to her mother's excitement, Juliet says that she will try to show an interest in Paris at the party if that is what her mother wants her to do, suggesting that Juliet is fairly obedient at this point of the play. Act 1 Scene 4 sees Romeo and his two close friends, Mercutio and Benvolio, making their way to the Capulet party. Now Romeo and Benvolio, who are both Montagues, have to wear masks because they were not explicitly invited to the party. Now this is quite normal practice for the time. If you wanted to go to a party that you weren't invited to, you had to wear a mask and be prepared to give a speech to the host. Mercutio does not need to wear a mask, as he was on the invite list. He is neither a Montague nor a Capulet, and is in fact a distant relative of Paris and the Prince.
That was the part that was new for me. Been teaching this play for at least 5 years, and most performances depict that everybody's wearing masks. So this guy was the one that let me know that little tidbit of information that doesn't seem to be all that popular.
As they walk to the party, Romeo and Mercutio banter for a bit. They exchange puns, and Mercutio jokes about dreams and fairies in a way that is sort of teasing Romeo. The level of banter shows that they have a pretty strong friendship. As the scene comes to a close, Romeo announces that he has a bad feeling that he might die prematurely. Nice and cheery, don't you think? Act 1 Scene 5 starts with the party beginning, and from across the room, Romeo sees Juliet and instantly, and I mean instantly, falls in love. Tybalt, who is Juliet's cousin, recognises Romeo's voice as belonging to a Montague. As such, Tybalt wants to fight him and gets pretty angsty. Lord Capulet, however, being mindful of the prince's commands and the fact that any potential violence might occur in his own house, forbids Tybalt from fighting. Tybalt does as he is told. Meanwhile, Romeo and Juliet have met and have started to flirt, which they do by using religious language. In the midst of all their flirting, they kiss a few times. How romantic. Whilst with Juliet, Romeo finds out that she is a Capulet, and he promptly leaves the party. Afterwards, Juliet finds out that Romeo is a Montague. Her love for Romeo is already so intense that this leaves her feeling very conflicted indeed. After all, their families are sworn enemies. Alright, so that is Act 1 of Romeo and Juliet summarised. I really do hope that you found this video to be informative and useful, and that it has given you a bit more confidence when it comes to studying and revising Shakespeare's play.
I cut off the rest of it because he mostly was just going on and on about his YouTube video and what he does and that sort of a thing. I think when you give a full act summary of a play, I think you need to tell people what you do. I think it's pretty obvious at that point. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point because it is fill in the blank, so it's going to look different on your screen than it is from mine. Oh, good. I see it's loading. All right, so we're taking the prologue and you're putting in the pieces. And I made sure not to repeat words so that you don't have two blanks that could possibly have the same word. Have some good scores coming in. Cool. Couple of people with perfect scores. Very good. All right, I'm going to give everybody a couple more minutes to work on that. So I'm going to turn that slide onto student paste and we'll do the other one. So this is where you have your matching. So you match the scene to the event that happened in that scene. Somebody got bumped out. Some of you are really fast at this. Wow. You got 5 for 5. You remember this play really well? Obvious progression of events.
gravity's a bit light. Great for jumping, though. He demonstrated with a small hop that sent him nearly a meter into the air, causing several of my more timid officers to skitter backward. And the atmospheric mix? Bit oxygen rich for my taste, but your synthesizer whipped up something to help with that. He gestured to a container of brown liquid. Coffee. Not as good as the real thing, but it'll do. Quan leaned.
We all got our bit of news for today. All right, in a few minutes, we're going to be moving on to the next part. All right, when everybody is done with those, I will go over which scenes go to what. Make sure my thing isn't frozen again. Okay, we're good. All right, now we're going to move on to the last part of this review Nearpod. And it is a 10-question quiz-like activity. I'm not going to display it on my screen because basically you're just going to see the first answer. And so I'm going to stop sharing mine. And then after everybody is done, I will go over the answers. Excuse me. For those of you done with the quiz, I have what are some of the important things that happened in Act One? And you should answer at least three things. So take the last 10 minutes to answer this question. So we focused completely on this act. Lots of things happen, but which ones are the important things? reached the end of our time here today. So tomorrow I'll see you for our progress learning, and then we will have a quiz on Romeo and Juliet Act 1 for Friday. So all the stuff we've been going over, gonna see what you know on Friday. Have a good Tuesday, everybody.